Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. So for today's video, we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're still crafting, but instead of doing a Dollar Tree DIY, I decided to take one of my Michael's grab bag finds and transform it into something that actually fits my decor. Now this was suggested a long time ago by a subscriber. I cannot find the comment, but if I find it before I post it, I will insert it right here. Thank you so much for the suggestion, because now I took this piece that was okay and turned it into something I really love. And if you like these types of transformation videos, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Once you hit that subscribe button, we instantly become best friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
And please hit that notification bell because I do have another one of these coming. I did get a ton of stuff in my grab bag and I really like the idea of transforming things. So let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to make this over because I thought it was a really great piece, but it just didn't fit my decor and it had really awkward stain marks. I just really didn't love it. And the best thing about this is that you can actually remove this really easily. You can sand this down with any sanding sponge or an orbital sander, or if you want to make a reversible sign, you can easily flip this over because they didn't add any mounting hardware. It is just the exact same hardware on the other side. So you can do two things. You can use some poster stickers and write whatever you want, like bake daily. I thought it would be a really good idea to do that. And then use the little Dollar Tree cutouts and switch them out with every season, like pumpkin and apple, but that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm actually going to measure this out. This is 20 inches wide and I want a 7-inch stencil. So this is what I created, and here are the fonts that I used. I made it 15 by 7, and I did use my large Cricut map, but you don't need a Cricut. You can also use the app called Fonto and use the same fonts that I'm using by getting them on dafont.com. So this is the app, and all you have to do is basically just print it out, and on the back side, just use some chalk, and this is going to help you transfer your image. This works really well on wood. I'll leave the link to the video where I did this because I am a lot more thorough, but you're just going to place it on your area and trace it with a pen or pencil, and it's going to leave the mark, and then you can go over it with paint or a marker, whatever you feel comfortable with. This is a great way to transfer stuff if you don't have a die cutting machine. Now I am going to use my Cricut for this, but I am going to do the Dollar Tree thing. I'm going to use the Dollar Tree shelf liner, and I probably should have used another color, not wood, but this one actually is a lot better than the book covers because it doesn't come as wrinkled. I did smooth out all of the wrinkles using my little scraper tool, and as you can see, it looks a lot better than with my last tutorial, and this does weed a little easier and brings a lot more material. So keep that in mind too if you do want to use this for stenciling. So here is a stencil all ready to go, and I'm going to use the Dollar Tree clear contact paper as transfer tape. This works beautifully with the Cricut brand stuff and with Dollar Tree. You just got to be a little patient. I do use the default vinyl setting. I tried doing cut less and it doesn't cut enough. And the default setting does cut a little bit through to the back, but it doesn't ruin your mat. It just kind of cuts, and you can see it if you look really closely. But it doesn't affect the stencil at all. You can still remove it with no problem. Just have a little patience. So once it is off and ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and place it on my board. But before I do that, I am going to measure out. This board is not at all straight. I just grabbed my tape measure and made 2 little marks just to try and get it somewhat straight. If it's not perfect, I'm not too upset. I went ahead and placed my stencil and removed my transfer tape. When you remove your transfer tape, make sure that you are smoothing everything out. This is not as sticky as the Cricut or Oracle stuff, so you are going to use your scraper tool to kind of hold things back. But even when I have used the Cricut brand stuff, I still have to do the same thing. So just be patient and just keep pushing your stuff down. Surprisingly enough, this isn't really a solid surface, so I am grabbing my scraper tool and I'm making sure that everything is adhered to the board. A lot of people do a very thin layer of Mod Podge. You can go ahead and use that. I use my sponge brush from Dollar Tree and also my favorite chalk paint in the shade Sheepskin. This you can get at Michael's, and I believe they have it at Walmart as well. Now with an almost dry, and I know it doesn't look that way, but with an almost dry sponge brush, I'm just going to pounce upward, not side to side, just up and down so that nothing gets underneath the stencils, and I'm going to cover the entire thing. Do this in very thin coats and wait till it dries completely. When it dries completely, then you can remove it. Now this does break apart, but honestly, I really didn't mind. It made it a little bit easier to weed out stuff. And then I did use my other Cricut tool to get those little pieces in between. Since this is wood, I kind of ended up stabbing it just a little bit, but that's okay. I was really impressed that it got all of the details because this is a really small, the cursive at least, is a really small print. So I love the way this turned out. So now I do my happy dance and it's time to add my little basket. And for this, I'm going to use this little Dollar Tree organizer. You can use a crate depending on what look you're going for. If you want something more industrial, you can use something metal. And at first I painted this using a silver spray paint because it kind of didn't dawn on me that the hardware on that was like a brushed nickel. So I painted the outside first and did this in small coats. Then I went ahead and painted the inside and flipped it over just so I got those in between since this does have some crevices. Now the color that I did end up using was this color right here by Rust-Oleum. It doesn't even have an actual name on it, but you'll see it when you see the cap. So I went over again, and then with this color called Nutmeg Brown, you can find this at Walmart. I used a very dry sponge brush, which came in that Dollar Tree pack, and I just sponged it randomly to kill some of the shine and have it match the hardware that the board already has. Now, I'm not stopping here. Once I do kill some of the shine and make it look old and dingy, I am going to go in with a darker color, and this is called Pavement, also found at Walmart. And I'm just going to do the same thing, but instead of just pushing it in, I'm also just going to brush it because the hardware does look like it just has black brushed across. It's not going to match perfectly, but I definitely do think it looks a lot better after doing this. And you'll see right here, once my brush is nice and dry, I'm just going to go ahead and drag it across the edges and the bottom. And I think it looks pretty dang good. So depending on the look you're going for, you can paint it whatever color you want, like I mentioned before, but make sure that you're painting all the sides because if you're not filling this right away with flowers, then you are going to be able to see all of the parts. So now that I have this, it's time to attach it to my board. And for this isn't really a straight board, so I am just going to make some markings where I'm kind of eyeballing it, and I'm also going to make the markings on the crate itself. And now I'm going to drill some pilot holes into the wood. So I'm using my smallest drill bit, and I'm not going very deep, just deep enough to where I can put my screws in. These are the screws I'm using. I got these at Lowe's. They are pretty small. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to check the fit again and then put my screws through the crate. The screws are a tiny bit bigger than the holes on the crate, and that's okay. I just feel like this makes it a little bit more snug and secure. So I am pushing that through, and then with a screwdriver, I am screwing that in. You can go ahead and use your drill for this, but I felt more comfortable. I usually do feel more comfortable when I'm working with wood, just screwing it in. I stood it up to tighten it and realized that you could also use 2 more of these and make a really cool fruit stand, just make a different stencil. You can also use thinner ones and use it as a really cool and unique spice rack. It's up to you. I really think this is one of those pieces that you can turn into so many things. But since they gave me so much floral in my grab bag, if you saw the video, you saw that it was just a whole bag of flowers, I decided to make this a little flower mart station. Even though these do look very springy, they do have fall colors, but for Christmas, you can switch them out and add Christmas colors. There's so many things that you can do to this, and you can switch it out with every season. And if you use different fonts, this can look totally different. It doesn't have to look Farmhouse at all. You can paint it. There are so many options. And these flowers are super duper lightweight. You don't have to add any foam to the bottom. So switching them out every season is actually really simple. So far, I think this looks really cool, and I still have a ton of flowers left over. So the coolest part is that the backside still has its original print, so I can always remove the basket and use it as is, but I absolutely love how this turned out. It looks so different, and I can use it somewhere else in my house that isn't my kitchen. I love it, and I got great use out of the other stuff that came in my grab bag, and if I didn't have a Cricut, then transferring the letters would have been free as well. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, turn on those notifications, because I will be making over more of the items that came in my grab bag, like the flower pot, the signs, and that cool U. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.